So thank you for inviting me. Before I came to Braha, I gave myself in the hands of a psychotherapist because he's my friend and he's from Czech Republic. Because I wanted to address the audience with some gender-neutral, non-binary welcoming in Czech, and this is what I got. Vážené posluchačky, vážení posluchači, which is totally gendering as far as I got informed by our bravest translator. Thanks so much for keeping us on track. And then the second thing I would like, I wanted him to give to me was some very quick joke and to address to you as well. So he said, no, that's far too difficult to pronounce, so I had to delete this. So I just can't do anything else but go on with now with our presentation, as it was planned actually about the situation in Germany and gender recognition over there, gatekeepers and allies and challenges we are facing. You've seen Germany is not among the countries of best practice. No one has introduced to us, but still a few steps have been done, and hopefully a few more are going to be there soonish. A quotation to start with, which is the court really did the job the parliament should have done, which is a quotation by Dr. Johanna Schmidt-Rentsch, a trans female judge in Germany's Supreme Court who came out a few years ago. And with this quotation she expresses that all the governments within the last few years in Germany have done nothing, as in nothing, to improve the Transsexual Act as the law is named in Germany, but it was always the Constitutional Court who did the improvements. The Transsexual Act was came into force in 1981, and it's a two-step procedure. It either decides about the change of the given name, which is Vornamensänderung, or the change of the gender status, and trans people can decide either for both or for only one of these two options. And it's an application you have to go to the local court, so it's nothing like easy like giving birth and going to registry office, but it's a court thing, so you have to meet a judge beforehand, before starting the process. And it is foreseen an examination of two independent experts. They want to give proof about the transsexual imprint, whatever this is, nobody knows. In the law it says transsexual imprint, but really nobody has a clue what it is, and it's nowhere explained what it is. They want to give proof that this longing, desire, idea, it exists since more than 3 years, and they want to give proof for high probability that it will exist forever. So this is totally the contrary of the self-determination you've spoken about. And a few more words on the independent experts. The Act doesn't name any professions for this examination, but just suggests that they are sufficiently familiar with the particular problems of transsexualism during their professional experience and education, which means that also you and me, we could do probably these examinations, but we're not entitled to. And the court gives the order to hand this examination over to people from the medical stage. What's happening then is two experts, like therapists, psychoanalysts from the medical stage, come on the legal stage and do what they are doing usually on the medical stage, which is giving a diagnosis. So this is not kind of accessible, quick and transparent examination. This is something. This is something different. This is making the process of change of name or gender marker much more complicated. The Federal Constitutional Court has declared many requirements as unconstitutional from the beginning on. First, the age limit was in the original Act age 25. This was deleted already in 1982-83. When people got married after they had achieved their legal gender recognition and got a new first name, they weren't allowed to marry afterwards. This was deleted in 2005. The German citizenship was a requirement that was deleted in 2006. The compulsory divorce in 2008. and this 2008 case involved a couple married for 50 years who rejected the option of turning their union into a same-sex partnership. So this is what deleted the compulsory divorce. And the biggest step so far is the deletion, that the Constitutional Court have deleted the compulsory sterilization and surgeries in 2011. And this was, for the German perspective, it was a milestone because just a year before, trans communities had started to fight for a precedent case to go, and we had already collected money for it and organized solidarity parties just to make this court case. And then again, the Constitutional Court went a step quicker than the government and deleted this compulsory sterilization. Although Constitutional Court did a good job, other than the different governments throughout these more than 30 years, the Transsexual Act is still vastly criticized, as it still requires a psychiatric examination. It has high costs from 1,000 to 4,000 euro, depending on how quick the experts would do the examinations. The duration is too long, up to 1.5 years, sometimes in a few cases also up to 2 years. It's intransparent, and the provisions are contributing to discrimination and being inadequate in practice. As you've seen, like traveling in this period of 1.5 years, it's almost impossible to cross a border, or it's impossible to do a job application when these documents don't match, for example, with your appearance. Furthermore, there is something in the Transsexual Act that says violations of the revelation ban are forbidden, which means nobody should be forced unwillingly, should be outed unwillingly by, let's say, institutions, but there are no compensations given in case that this happens nonetheless, and it happens always. So you find letters from job offices to applicants saying Mr. Michaela, whatever, so you can see, like, you know, in the window, so everyone would know there was something that isn't matching, but nobody would be get compensations for this violation of the revelation ban. And the Transsexual Act is also excluding genderqueer and intersex persons as the only way to express to the society that someone is genderqueer would be to go for the name change without change of the gender marker, but then the rest of your life you have this discrepancy between name and gender marker. It's inaccessible in case of limited residence permit, so in case of unwilling parents of minors. So just a few days ago we had two persons from Argentina at our organization Transinterqueer who had been much involved in the very positive Argentinian law, and they've mentioned that children in Argentina whose parents aren't agreeing upon their legal gender recognition, they can get a children's lawyer to go to the registration office. So this wouldn't be possible at all in Germany so far. The trans community players in Germany who are hopefully involved in improving and will furthermore hopefully improve the situation. Just quickly to start with, the organization I'm part of is Transinterqueer. We started in 2006, Berlin-based organization with 6 part-time staffers and 40 volunteers and about 150 members. And there is lots of counseling, social counseling, peer-to-peer counseling, psychological counseling. There are lots of groups, events, lectures, workshops. The target groups are, as you can see in the name of the organization, trans people, intersex people, and queer people. So when we founded the organization in 2006, this was something quite new in the German context, that different target groups would work together. And a few of the recently started projects are, for example, a survey among trans sex workers and a visiting service for trans people of age, and an anti-discrimination project for intersex persons. I've also mentioned lobbying over there. The first big impact I think trans communities in Germany made was when in 2011, late 2011, the Constitutional Court had just decided that the forced sterilization is inappropriate and a violation of the physical integrity. Transinterqueer formed a working group law reform of the Transsexual Act, and this was a network. A network was created with more than 30 trans and intersex groups who wouldn't have had worked together before. And it was like nationwide, politically independent, self-organized, non-funded, and the aim of it was to make a joint position paper on a reform of the Transsexual Act, which was signed afterwards, after half a year, by more than 100 associations and groups and organizations and individuals. The demands of this paper, among them, was that the violations that the Transsexual Act should be deleted totally. This is a demand the trans community players nowadays wouldn't push anymore, so everyone has stepped a little bit back, but this was from 2011. And that the relegation ban should be combined into the Administrative Offences Act, so that people could be punished and pay money in case they violate persons' data and unwillingly force them to out themselves. Other players which are which are important in the German context are the BVT, which is to translate Federal Association Trans, which was founded just last year by 60 individuals. The DGTE, German Society, Transidentity and Intersexuality, and in between now there are tons of local and regional groups all over Germany, like Trans in Mitteldeutschland, which is right in the eastern, close to Polish and Czech borders. In the south, Action, Transsexualität and Human Rights, and in the north, for example. And in between now, the trans community has, how to put it, much emancipated from the Berlin community, which in the beginning, like 10 years ago, everyone was focusing on Berlin, and now there are like conferences, trans conferences all over the country, and people are developing their own ideas about how to improve Transsexual Act, how to do lobbying, how to get access to healthcare system and find qualified psychologists and train certain professional groups. Something the DGTE, you see them here in the middle, some huge, very good thing I think the DGTE has developed is the supplementary card. It's a kind of official passport document that has the size of one passport, and it has the original number of the identity card. It's about like 15 euros to achieve it, and it includes the chosen name, and you can get the supplementary card before you have changed your given name into your chosen one. It is provided in 3 languages, and it is agreed by the Home Office. So people would get this supplementary card, show it everywhere, where passports are required when traveling, and it explains. So it's not the individual who again and again and again has to explain why there is this difference between passport and outer appearance by just showing this card. And in between now, they have it since the early 2000s. They have more than 4,000 of these supplementary cards given to trans people who can make use of them. Allies and gatekeepers in the German context. The Federal Anti-Discrimination Agency, the Berlin State Office for Equal Treatment and Against Discrimination, and Waldschlesien, totally different ones. So the Federal Anti-Discrimination Agency is the federal board of the issue of anti-discrimination, and it has, for example, a few years ago done the first ever survey about trans discrimination in the working place. They've declared the year 2015 as the gender year and appointed a commission that also criticized the act, the Transsexual Act, as not going far enough. And they extremely fight for a stronger anti-discrimination law than the one that is in existence at the moment. The Berlin State Office for Equal Treatment and Against Discrimination is more focused regionally. They are intensely working on the Berlin State anti-discrimination law that also counters violations in those fields in which the German law doesn't work at the moment, which is, for example, school, police, courts, those especially fields where also trans people get violated, for example, in police controls or at schools by teachers and, for example, judges during this procedure of the Transsexual Act. The Waldschlösschen is some community place in the center of Germany where the Federal Association Trans was founded last year, and they have massively pushed and published a Waldschlösschen declaration, again of another 50 organizations of trans people that also puts demands of how to improve the Transsexual Act publicly. So. And just two gatekeepers, but they are very, very different ones. The IMEC, this is some commission at the Ministry of Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women and Youth. And this ministry was appointed by the government 2 years ago in order to build a network of gatekeepers among all the ministries that have some impact on trans rights, trans health, like the Home Office, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Consumer Protection. And the head of the IMEC, thank the Lord, is some ally from the Anti-Discrimination Office I've mentioned as an ally before. So she's very much aware that also trans people should give their impact into this commission, and she makes trans voices very much heard in this commission, which besides trans people only consists of ministry members and staffers who are many of them very much countering any improvement of the Transsexual Act. They've just 3 minutes. That's incredible. Okay, so let me see. And they've just ordered that some Berlin University makes an expert report on which improvements of the national legal situation should be made, and they have asked like thousands of trans people to take part in the survey, giving figures, and then in the end probably come to the result, yes, changes have to be made. The Guideline Commission treatment and assessment of transsexual is not on the legal path but on the medical path. So they are the ones who would check the guidelines for treatment, and this is a commission of healthcare professionals, but not the ones you would send trans people to and introduce them as allies, but like the ones who stick to the ICD classification. And among them in this guideline commission, we could like put in secretly 2 trans people who would now also contribute to this improving of the guidelines, hopefully. A few challenges besides improving the Transsexual Act are the alternative for Germany. So in Germany we say it's not an alternative, it's not for, and it's not Germany. So it's a totally difficult right-wing party has put in their election program this quotation: there is nothing such as discrimination on the grounds of sexual and gender identity in Germany anymore. So when there are the next elections in autumn, it's highly probable that they will get tons of percentages as well, as they already did in a few states of Germany. So we expect lots of resistance from AfD against any steps that have already been taken, and we are going to take, hopefully. Trans refugees are more than vulnerable group in Germany. In Berlin has just opened the first shelter for about 120 LGBT refugees, among them 15 to 20 trans persons so far, and there is this Asylum Seekers Benefits Act that doesn't give to trans refugees the same healthcare provisions as to trans people who are not refugees. So they wouldn't get all the medical things they need. The National Action Plan I skip. And transparenthood. Once the federal court deleted the need for sterilization, they've made a legal loophole because they haven't given new provisions. What's happening in case that a trans male has changed his gender marker into male and then gives birth because he isn't forced to sterilization anymore? What's put into the birth certificate of the child, what's put in the birth register. So they haven't given any ideas what to do with this. So now we are expecting a court case of one trans man going to federal constitutional court, probably next year, to fight this and to gain some success, because of course he would like to be put in as father, and without revelation of his given name he got like 30 years ago, and his child would never know, because the child knows him as father and not as mother. Thanks. I don't want to make the expression that Germany is really a country of best practice, not at all a country of best practice regarding trans rights. Yes.